You're not going to believe this, but America's travel superpower status is slipping. For decades, the US was the world's tourism giant, a place everyone wanted to visit, and a passport that opened almost any border. But in 2025, that grip is breaking, from both sides. Fewer visitors are coming to America, hotels are emptier, attractions are quieter, and entire cities are losing billions. And it's not just one or two countries. The drop is global. At the same time, Americans heading abroad are facing something they never expected: new visa requirements, stricter border checks, and destinations that simply don't want them there. It's a two-way collapse that's reshaping travel as we know it. The question is, how did it happen? And what does it mean for the future of America's place in global tourism? Today, we're breaking it down into 7 signs that show exactly why America's travel power is fading, and why the shift might be permanent. If stories like this matter to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps get this video in front of more people who need to hear it. Let's get started. It's one of the steepest tourism declines America has seen in decades. And it's not just a bad month or a slow season. International arrivals to the US are still down millions compared to pre-2020 levels. Canada, once the US's single biggest source of visitors, has cut trips dramatically for months. And July proved the trend is far from over. In that single month, Canadians returning by car plunged 36.9% compared to July 2024, while air travel fell 25.8%. Europe tells the same story. The UK, Germany, and France are all sending fewer tourists than before, despite fully open borders. And some nations are seeing sharper drops than ever. Tourist arrivals from Denmark fell a staggering 35% this July alone. In the Asia-Pacific region, the story is no better. Japan and South Korea are seeing some of their lowest visitor numbers in modern history, while arrivals from Australia and New Zealand remain well below pre-pandemic highs. This isn't just one market pulling back, it's a global trend that's still unfolding, and the latest numbers suggest the slowdown is deepening. From Toronto to Tokyo, from London to Sydney, fewer people are choosing the United States as their destination. For cities built on international tourism, this is a slow bleed that hasn't stopped. In 2019, overseas visitors spent over $200 billion in the US. Today, that figure is tens of billions lower, and it's not climbing back quickly. But the real question is why they're staying away. And those answers reveal something much bigger. This isn't just about fewer planes landing. It's about a shift in how the world feels about coming to America. For decades, visiting the US was a bucket list dream. In 2025, for many, it's a calculated risk. Politics is driving part of that change. Tariffs, trade disputes, and diplomatic flare-ups have turned once routine cross-border trips into statements. Canada's sharp decline in July didn't happen in isolation. It came after months of rising political tension. That tension is tied to something bigger. America's global popularity has collapsed since Donald Trump's return to the White House. The 2025 Democracy Perception Index, surveying over 110,000 people in 100 countries, found a majority now hold a negative view of the US, with EU countries showing the steepest drop. Then there's the border experience. Travelers report longer queues, tougher questioning, and a higher chance of being turned away. Some are detained for hours or sent back on the next flight. One European visitor put it bluntly: "Why would I spend thousands on a vacation just to risk being treated like a suspect at the border?" These stories spread fast, on social media, in travel forums, and around dinner tables, shaping trips before they're even planned. Some governments have even made them official, updating travel advisories to warn citizens about visiting the United States. And those warnings are already sending shockwaves through America's tourism industry. That hesitation to visit isn't just a perception problem. It's already hitting America's economy in real time. Cities built on international tourism are feeling the squeeze, and the losses aren't small. In 2019, overseas tourists spent over $200 billion in the United States. Today, that number is tens of billions lower, and every month the gap continues. Businesses dependent on that money are scrambling to survive. Hotels in New York, Orlando, and Las Vegas report weaker occupancy during what should be peak season. Restaurants once packed with foreign visitors are cutting staff. Even luxury retailers in hotspots like Fifth Avenue and Rodeo Drive are seeing fewer big-spending customers walk in. The impact ripples outwards: less tax revenue for local governments, fewer tips for service workers, and less money flowing into attractions, theaters, and tour companies. In smaller towns that depend on seasonal tourism, one bad year can be enough to shut down for good. And this isn't a slow burn. The data suggests the downturn is accelerating. If the trend holds, next season could make this year look mild. But America's fading travel power isn't just about fewer visitors. It's now following Americans abroad, where in some places the welcome mat is gone entirely. For decades, an American passport was a golden key: quick entry, minimal questions, and a welcome in nearly every corner of the globe. But in 2025, that key is losing its shine. Across the world, more countries are quietly tightening the rules for U.S. visitors. In Europe, Americans will soon need pre-travel authorization before most trips. A small change on paper, but a clear signal that the days of walking straight through are ending. In South America, countries like Brazil have brought back visa requirements after years of easy entry. Beyond the headlines, many destinations are quietly expanding screening questions, adding new pre-clearance systems, and even slipping in hidden surcharges for American visitors. And it's not just paperwork. More Americans are facing longer waits at immigration, unexpected secondary inspections, and, in some cases, being turned away entirely. In parts of Asia, U.S. travelers are flagged for extra questioning, a quiet response to rising diplomatic tensions. The shift is subtle but unmistakable. What used to be a quick stamp is now a formal vetting process. As one frustrated traveler posted online, "I've been to this country 5 times before. This was the first time they made me feel like I didn't belong there." That feeling isn't always in the paperwork. Sometimes it's in a look or a tone. And in that moment, some Americans find themselves not just unwelcome, confronted directly, and sometimes uncomfortably, by locals. For many Americans in 2025, the tension doesn't end at customs. It follows them onto ski lifts, into cafes, and across dinner tables. In Whistler, Canada, a California couple's gondola ride turned sour when a local confronted them about U.S. politics and tariffs. The conversation ended with a tip on which ski run to take, a route so unpleasant they later wondered if it was revenge. These moments aren't isolated. In Germany and Belgium, Americans report politics coming up in nearly every social interaction, sometimes with pity, other times with open frustration. A traveler from California now carries both U.S. and Irish passports, unsure which one will get a warmer reception. And in Mexico City, protests against over-tourism have spilled into anti-American sentiment, with banners reading, "Gringo, go home," in trendy neighborhoods that once thrived on U.S. tourists. Surveys back up what these travelers are feeling. Over 70% of experienced globetrotters now believe Americans are viewed more negatively abroad than in recent years. That shift isn't just political, it's personal. It shapes whether you get a friendly welcome, a cold shoulder, or a subtle act of hostility. And while some travelers adapt, tipping extra, avoiding political talk, or blending in with local gear, others are rethinking entire trips. Because in some destinations, the conversation about America starts before the sightseeing ever begins. Not long ago, traveling with a U.S. passport felt like holding a first-class ticket through the world. Immigration officers waved you through. Hotel clerks found an extra upgrade. Airlines bent the rules to keep you happy. That quiet VIP treatment is fading. The U.S. passport was once ranked #1 in the world. In 2025, it's fallen to 10th place, with 35 countries now holding passports more powerful than the United States. In practice, that means more lines, more forms, and fewer spur-of-the-moment trips. In the travel industry, the shift is subtle but telling. In parts of Europe and Asia, overbooked hotels now prioritize guests from nearby countries or long-haul travelers with repeat histories, perks Americans used to enjoy automatically. Airlines, too, are tightening upgrade and lounge access, especially on international routes where demand is booming from non-U.S. markets. It's not hostility, it's a quiet recalibration. The special glow that came with being an American traveler has dimmed, replaced by the same transactional treatment given to everyone else. For some, it's a small inconvenience. But for a country that built part of its global image on being welcomed everywhere, the change is symbolic, and it hints at something bigger we'll see in our final chapter. We've seen the signs: fewer visitors coming in, a cooler reception when Americans travel out. Together, they paint a clear picture. America's travel power is fading. This isn't just about vacations or airline seats. Tourism is one of the most visible forms of soft power. It's how cultures connect, how trust is built, and how influence spreads without a single treaty or trade deal. When fewer people want to visit your country, and when your own citizens are met with suspicion or indifference abroad, it signals something deeper, a shift in how the world values your place in it, and whether it still sees you as worth engaging with. The US can reverse this, but not with marketing slogans or a few splashy events. It will take consistent effort, treating visitors like valued guests, strengthening international relationships, and making sure the American name carries warmth, not hesitation. Because once a nation's welcome wears thin, it's not just tourism that suffers. It's its voice, its influence, and the way it's remembered in the world's collective mind. Thanks for watching, and for sticking with us through the whole story. If you found this deep dive valuable, tap that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you felt this shift, either in how the world sees America or how Americans are treated abroad? Share your experiences in the comments. Your stories make this conversation real, and we read everyone.